And as part of this, they identify 4 drivers of vulnerability. And I suppose if anyone's familiar with behavioral psychology, and if you think about the Cone-B model, these are actually quite similar to behavioral barriers as well for behavior. But they've got 4 drivers of vulnerability they've identified. So the first is health. So, if you're not in good health, there's a lot of problems that you might start to experience. You might have some kind of condition that you're living with. You might have broken your arm. That can be a real driver of vulnerability. Life events as well. So if you've suffered a bereavement, like your emotional state's going to be very different, or you're suffering a family, breakup in some form. There's also resilience. So this is people's ability to respond to things around them. So that might be emotional resilience or financial resilience. If something happens, how equipped are they to respond to that? And then there's capability. So in capability, that's, practically how much money do you have? Really influences your ability to respond to financial events. But also in capability, it's about understanding, it's about, comprehension, what experience have you had, and literacy. And just to give you, I love this Venn diagram actually. But just to give you a sense of the scale of this as well, like when you hear those myths about 5%, in 2020, the FCA did a big survey looking at financial lives, and actually they identified in the UK at that moment in October that 53% of UK adults displayed one or more characteristics of vulnerability. And you might be thinking, well, obviously pandemic, but when you actually look at what they did for their survey in 2019, it was slightly higher in 2019 than it was in 2020. And they do estimate that actually as the pandemic moved on, they estimated was more like 70% of people. The other thing that's a good reflection point on this is to start thinking about the intersectionality of these things. So I might have a health condition, but then I also experience a life event, and then, so these things compound, and people aren't always aware of these vulnerabilities as that happens to them as well.